Okay, we're ready to get started. I want to welcome everyone to this private workshop. I'm Darren Hardy, CEO, mentor, publisher, and editor of Success Magazine. I'm so delighted that you could join me. So before we get started, let me just check with my operator to be sure that we are all signs go. Do you see that? How's the audio? Good? Okay. Well, she says we have all systems go, so I first want to congratulate you for being on, for seeing an opportunity to join a workshop on how to finish big and then prioritize your schedule to attend and be dialed in right now to participate in this program. So the fact that you have and that you're here with me right now tells me a lot about you and the type of person that you are. So bravo! I'm really excited for you, as I know how the ideas that I'm going to share with you have impacted my life and my results. So I'm sitting here just buzzing, thinking about what tonight could mean to you and to your ability to close out your big goals and set yourself up for a big year in 2014. Once again, the registration expectations of this special workshop wildly exceeded our expectations. We set a record once again, and once again we had over 20,000 people register to attend. So right now, as you listen to my voice, there are tens of thousands of people connected to this online workshop and from several dozen countries across the world. Can you feel it? Incredible. I want to welcome and acknowledge my international friends, as I know many of you are watching this in the wee hours of the night/morning, so welcome. Okay, well, I hope you're ready for a fast-paced, intense workshop. Do you have a notepad or your journal ready to take notes? If not, go grab it now. Also, before we get started, I need to ask your permission. And that is that it's okay to push you a bit. I believe a great mentor is one who does just that. Pushes you to do what you should and need to do, but without their loving, passionate, and sometimes tough prodding you might not have. So I have to ask for your permission. Well, I guess at this point it's a warning, really, that I do want to push you. I want to push you to become more than maybe you even thought you knew you were capable of. But I know that you are. So if you do just a few things, we can draw it out of you here tonight. One of those things at the end will be to invest in yourself a bit. If you're going to do more than you've done before, accomplish more than you've accomplished before, then you have to become more than you are right now. And that is going to require an investment in your personal growth, in your personal improvement. So towards the end of the workshop, I'm going to show you a killer resource, something no one else has seen yet, something I've been working on all year long, but is really 20 years in the making, and something that only those of you connected to this webinar will know about this year. It won't be made public until 2014, and 500 of you on this webinar will get first access to it. Anyway, I can promise you this. It is something that if you absolutely, positively want to crush it in 2014, no matter your goals or objectives, this will be huge for you. Also, before we get started, let me give you this coaching tip. I know how tough it is to stay focused while on a web workshop. I've been on the other side. It's easy to let email, text messages, interruptions, or materials around you distract you. Don't let that be you. Commit to staying focused for the 65 minutes that we're together. That's as long as this workshop will be. 65 minutes. I'm going to compress a lot of highly valuable information for you, for your business, and your future in these 65 minutes. It's taken me hundreds of hours to pack this together. You can spend 65 minutes. It will be worth it. Stay focused. In fact, I'll tell you what. I am even going to pay you $1,000 for your focused attention and time tonight. At the end, I will show you how to activate a $1,000 gift certificate just for being on this workshop. So essentially, you're making $1,000 an hour. Well, for this hour at least. But you have to stay focused and all the way up until the end to collect it. Fair enough? All right, let's crank. So we're here to talk about how to finish big. Here we are, mid-November. You've gone the distance thus far. You've invested a massive amount of time, energy, effort, sacrifice, and dedication to put yourself in position. But it will be this last leg that will determine if your entire year ends in victory or, well, has you hobbling across the finish line, way at the back of the pack. That difference will be determined now, right now, in this moment. Lose another week or two, and you will be too far behind to recover. So, will you dig deep, double down, put in the last kick to overtake your competitors and summit your goals? I hope so, and I'm going to show you how. All right, so let's answer the pivotal question. What is it that separates winning from losing? In the game of life, like many other games that we play, what matters the most when it comes to determining victory over defeat is this. It's always the final stretch, the final seconds, the final shots, and the final effort. Did you know that there are more points scored in the final 2 minutes of the NFL of each half than all of the points scored throughout the entire game? Another example, in Major League Baseball, victory is most often decided on who can finish the ninth inning the strongest. Statistically, that is one of the greatest determinant of who goes on to win the World Series, is who can stay strong through the ninth inning. And then in retail, in e-commerce sales, this is how much of that is done in these final 45 days. 20 to 40% of all sales revenue happens in the last 45 days of the year. And look, we all know, everybody starts, right? People make New Year's resolutions, they start diet programs, they start prospecting programs, they start date night programs with their spouse, new habits, whatever. It is not those that start, but victory, winning, success is always decided in the finish. You have to finish. Let me give you some advice an Olympic coach gave a friend of mine while running track back in college. And this advice I've used ever since personally in my professional and in my personal life, and it's made a huge difference. So my friend was an extremely talented sprinter, but regardless of his talent, effort, or even hard work ethic, he was still losing his competitions, consistently placing second. He would lead the entire race, yet get overtaken in the final stretch. He tried various approaches, but nothing seemed to work. He grew extremely frustrated. By the way, this might be the way you feel about achieving some of your big goals. You work really hard, you're really dedicated, you put in tons of effort, but still fall short once you cross the finish line on December 31st. Why? So, during one of those meets, there was a well-known Olympic track coach in the stands. And once again, my friend placed second. The coach approached my friend and said, "You have first place ability and you put in first place effort and commitment, but you finished second. Do you know why?" "No," my friend replied in frustration. The coach said, "I've watched several of your races. In every one of them, you're ahead for 80 to 90% of the race. Then just as you're about to win, you make the fatal mistake." "What's that?" my friend asked. "You look over your shoulder," the coach said, "and that's when someone overtakes you." He continued, "The next time you run, focus only on the end. Just fixate on breaking the tape. Forget what's happening behind you. Winners can't be afraid that they're running alone." You see, what happens is when you look over your shoulder, you switch your attention from the positive goal of winning to the possibility of someone overtaking you. Then guess what? It happens. You lose. What happens internally is when your brain circuits swing towards this fear, it affects your motor circuits and then slows you down. When you focus your brain only on breaking the tape, rather than outrunning the challengers that are behind you, you're telling your brain circuits to maintain your pace and finish strong. You are no longer registering information of what is behind you, but you gain the possibility of victory and stay focused on the goal. So the very next race, my friend won, and he kept winning. He even ended up becoming an Olympian and competed in the 1996 Olympic Games. So the lesson that coach gave him not only helped my friend, but it's helped me ever since. My friend told me this story many years ago. The lesson I learned is, 1, the race is won or lost in the final push. All your hard work all year can get flushed down the drain in the last 2 months and 2 weeks. And then 2, during that push, focus only on one thing, breaking the tape. Don't let the crowd or even the competitors at your back, or the other things that are in your environment that could be distracting you fracture your focus. Your body will follow your eyes. Keep a maniacal focus on breaking the tape. So here's the mentoring I want to offer you. At this critical part of the year, when you cannot afford any distraction, where your final push is going to determine victory or defeat, get clear about what could distract you. Write down 5 potential distractions you might encounter during the final stretch, and then a prevention plan to keep it from happening, right? Is it a mindset? It's slow this time of the year, so I'm just going to cruise a bit. No, I'll show you a strategy that leverages this mentality to your favor, but don't let yourself fall prey to this mental trap. Is it the holiday parties or family demands, or is it the weather, or is it your children's schedules? Is it jumping too far forward and thinking about next year before you've finished this one? Is it being involved in too much, trying to get too much accomplished, thus pulling your focus off of what really matters? Figure out your 5 and a contingency, a buffer, or a delegation, or a deletion, or an outsourcing, or a focus methodology to prevent it from derailing you from finishing strong. Here is a really important fact about finishing big that you need to fully grasp and commit to. Winning only requires a little bit more. Look, the difference between extraordinary success and ordinary or mediocre success is not that much. It's just a little bit more. A little bit. Let me give you a great example. 2 weeks ago, when I pulled up this data, the number 1 ranked golfer in the world was Tiger Woods. The number 10 golfer was Jordan Spieth of Texas. Who, you say? I know exactly. But he's 10th in the world. Now let's compare these two guys statistically. Tiger Woods averages 69.88 shots per round in tournament play. Jordan, 69.98. Which means the difference between number 1 and number 10 is, get this, 1/10 of 1 stroke. 0.1 strokes after more than 100 official rounds have been played. 10,000 golf shots taken between them. All the drives, all the bunker shots, all the putts. The difference between number 1 and number 10 is less than 1/10 of 1 stroke. But now, let's add up the difference in prize money. Tiger has collected $8.5 million just thus far, and Jordan, 3.8. That means Tiger has collected more than 2 times the money for only being 0.1 strokes better. What's even more, way more in fact, is how the world values number 1 over number 10. In 2012, Tiger Woods collected $65 million in endorsement income. Jordan, his endorsement income, negligible. It doesn't even show up on the Top Golf Digest top 50 in total income. So it's so small, it's not really even reported on. See, people imagine that Tiger Woods is leaps and bounds better than any other golfer. But in fact, he's only 0.1 strokes better than number 10, and as a result, earns 20 times more money. 20 times! Then get this. Tiger is only 0.06 strokes better, less than 0.5% than number 2 at the time. This is 2 weeks ago. And it was Heinrich Stenson, whom Tiger has out-earned by $2 million on the golf course and 20 times off of it. The payoff for hitting a few more buckets of balls on the driving range, practicing your putt a little bit more, getting up a little bit earlier, staying a little bit longer, that little bit, maybe less than half a step or half a stroke, multiplies your reward many times over. So here's the lesson. And what I'm encouraging you to do right now, push yourself a little bit further. This, right now, at this time of the year, this is when you multiply your lead on everyone else. So my mentoring homework for you is this. Write down 2 to 3 areas where you need to do a little bit more, and 2 to 3 ways that you can. Okay, got that written down? 2 to 3 areas where you could do a little bit more, and 2 to 3 ways in which you can. To do so, Let me help you with this important concept. You need to reframe your idea about pain. Reframe the pain. I want you to see pain as good. This is the one philosophy that I am so appreciative to my father for teaching me. If you read The Compound Effect, you know that my dad had painted on our garage wall where he had his Olympic-sized weight set filling a 2-car garage, the words in big black block letters, no pain, no gain. He taught me that pain was the objective. He taught me how pain is growth, because it is only through the pain that you get growth. I want you to see pain as progress. With each step forward, as painful as each might be, it is still progress, and progress leads to victory. Victory is not possible without progress, which is not possible without pain. Pain is victory. Life and pushing yourself through your pain and threshold throughout your day is very much like working out. So let me give you this analogy. Let's say that your weight training and program calls for you to do 10 repetitions of a certain weight. Now, if you do the 10, you're fulfilling the expectation of your program. Great job. Good for you. Yet, if you do 10, and then, even if you've hit your pain point, but you push out another 3 to 5 reps, even if you need a little bit of help to do so, the impact that that set will have is multiplied several times. Each rep after your pain point becomes not just linear growth, but exponential. It ends up multiplying the result of that entire set. You won't just add a few reps to the aggregate of your workout. No, those reps done after you hit your max will multiply your results. So, you've just pushed yourself through the wall of your max. The 10 previous reps that got you there, the real growth happens what you do after you hit the wall. Now take prospecting for instance. Everybody hits the wall when they prospect, right? You know that if you've done 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 and you just hit the wall. You know when you've had enough, right? You just don't want to pick up the phone again. That is when I always smile knowingly, knowing that my competitors are hitting this same wall, feeling this same pain, and I'm going to push through it. And as a result, I'm going to gain a stride on them. This is right where I start getting a stride on the competition with each new call I make while in the pain zone. Lou Holtz, the famous football coach, knew that it is what it is that you did after you did your best that created victories. In one game, his team was down 42-0 at halftime. During the halftime break, Lou showed his team a dramatic highlight reel of second efforts to block, tackle, and recover the ball. Then he told his players that they were not on his team because they could give their all on every play. Every player does that on every team, Lou said. He said they were on his team because of their ability to make that critical extra effort on each play. It's the extra effort after you've done your best that is the difference maker. By the way, his team went on to win that game in the second half after being down 42-0 at the halfway point. That is how you win. And that is what I want you to do to finish this year strong. I want you to do just a little bit more. As soon as you feel that you've reached your max effort, your max commitment, your max prospecting, your max dedication, your max productivity, then do just a little bit more. Go that extra half mile or so. I call it pushing yourself into the red zone. Most people avoid the red zone, right? They never allow themselves to get there. I'm telling you, that's where you find growth, victory, and separate yourself from everybody else. I personally measure myself by how many times I get into the red line each day. Did I get there in spin class? How many times? How long can I hold it once I'm in that red zone? Did I get there while I was prospecting? How long can I stay in it? Even putting on this workshop, as I was preparing to put all this together, it took a tremendous investment of time, energy, and life force to put all this together. Several times I had to persevere to stay focused and work on it, even though I was overwhelmed with other obligations, distracted, or just plain exhausted from traveling, speaking, interviewing, or producing my other work. But I pushed myself into the red zone and held it there. And as a result, you've got this workshop. So it applies to most every project that you're involved in that matters every day of the week. So adopt the philosophy that my dad taught me, and it has served me so well in my life. No pain, no gain. He would say, don't avoid the pain, pursue it. Then, when you get to it, that's when the game begins. The precursor just got you in the game. The game is what you do once you feel the pain. What you do in the pain is where the growth is. Doing that little bit more is how you finish big. It's what you do when you can't do anymore. That second effort. That is what separates you from the rest. All that you have done this year has just brought you to the game. The real game begins now. Will you punch through your pain threshold? Will you do just a little bit more? Will you make that extra second effort? Will you finish as everyone else will do, or will you finish big? And all of that is decided now. If you will do just a little bit more, you will get a lot more in return. Return of results, prosperity, and success. I want that for you. I want a lot more for you. To gain it, you just have to do a little bit more than you are comfortable with doing. 3x your effort right now, starting today. Right now, start 3xing your effort. All right. Let me give you some very tangible strategies that you can use to 3x your results in these final days of 2013. This is what I call success compression. Compressing effort, energy, focus into a compressed period of time to ignite an exponential effect in your results. Let me explain. Here's number one. Prioritize for profitability. In these final days, final hours of the year, it is super critical where you allocate your time and focus. You have to identify the projects, the people, the messages that have the most leverage for you and the most potential for a big outcome during the final march towards December 31st. So here's what you need to ask yourself. The year's ending. There are lots of businesses that run their fiscal year on the annual calendar, and even lots of individuals who, for tax reasons, need to make some speedy decisions and spend some money quickly. So completely reprioritize your prospecting list to those types of clients that have these year-end closing challenges and opportunities. So if you're a generalized business, focus your product or service offering to meet those needs. Adjust your marketing message to communicate to those needs. Those minor tweaks of who you focus on, what you focus on marketing to them, and connecting your message to those needs could significantly jump your revenue in the final 2-minute drill of the year. Look, you have to go to a no-huddle offense. You are in the final 2 minutes of the game. Now is the time to prioritize your focus. So here's what your list should look like. Identify your high-value clients. Who's the key contact? Get it down to a single person, the tip of the spear, so to speak. Now identify their year of end need. What is the heightened need based on the year ending? Now, what is the specific aspect about your solution that you have that can address that specific need? Then make notes about how you're going to message it to them. And then get busy, focused, concentrated, targeted, and on-message contact management. Here's number 2. Even if you're not in a business that has a particular value to your clients at the end of the year, you can still leverage this key strategy I call build your bank. I think it was Stephen Covey that defined relationships like an emotional bank account. During any exchange or transaction, you are either depositing money or you are withdrawing money into your relationship bank account. What we know for sure is, just like a real bank account, you cannot withdraw any money if there's no money in the account. So the month of December is a great time to make large deposits into a lot of accounts. The goal is to walk into the new year flush with cash. The way you do this is to give and give and give in December. Spend the month of December building your important relationships and making lots of deposits. How can you help, assist, and support them? The holiday season is an excellent time to give this a priority and focus. So go fill your accounts full of cash so that you can go into the new year with big accounts. So here's what you do. Look at your goals for next year. You already know what they are, right? Who is going to be most important to you in accomplishing those goals? That's who you need to invest in the most during the month of December. The accomplishment of your big goals is often not a factor of what you need to do or how you need to accomplish it. It always comes down to who you need to support your achievements. So make your list. And then, this is just me, but don't do what everybody else does. Don't bother with mass-printed and mass-mailed holiday cards or mass-distributed tchotchkes or trinkets or cookies, spending lots of dollars to deposit pennies, because that's really the impact of those statements into your relationships. That's a losing proposition. I suggest instead to narrow your relationship list down to a smaller number and invest more deeply, not just financially, but emotionally. Do something to help them out in a significant way, or remember them with gifts and sentiments that are personal and unique to let them know that you know them and you care about them. No matter the size of the success of the person, there are always only about 1 or 2 dozen relationships that make all their unique success possible. That's true for you too. So decide what your 1 or 2 dozen are and spend December stacking the cash in their accounts. The interest, the goodwill that it will earn through 2014 and beyond will make you wealthy. Hey, this is a big idea. I hope that you're getting the significance of it and will actually take action on it appropriately when this workshop is done. An excellent way to spend your final 45 days closing out 2013. All right, so the mentoring is this: identify your dozen and then go love on them. Make your deposits all year round. You got that written down? All right, let's move on. Number 3, and this is a big one. This is how you can get a huge jump on your competition. When they wake up in the new year and look up, you'll be so far ahead that if they work like a mad dog all year long, they still won't be able to catch you. You'll have the far head start on them. So this is a strategy I used when I was in real estate, and it can work for you. When I was in real estate, I would acquire more new listings and generate more new escrows in the month of January, many times within the first 2 weeks of January, than 99% of all realtors ever did all year long. How'd I do it? This is the strategy that I will detail for you now. Frankly, I will say, to start, it is by doing exactly the opposite of what most people do. You see, I'm pretty much an anti-conformist in almost every way. I mean, tell me what's popular or where everybody else is going or how everybody else does it, and I'm pretty much always going to do the opposite of that. That principle in itself, I will tell you, is a killer success strategy. If you just pull that out from this workshop, just do the opposite of what everybody else does, like just watch, listen, and read what everybody else is doing and do the opposite, you will be so far ahead of the herd, of mediocrity, of average, just by that one principle. And I have found that most super successful people in the world are anti-conformist. I mean, think about it. Richard Branson, Donald Trump, Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, even Lady Gaga, all anti-conformists. They have made their fortunes by zigging when everybody else zags. One of the greatest success principles there are is this: just find out what everybody else does and do the opposite. What do most people read? What do most people watch? What do they eat? Where do they go? What do they talk about? Find out and do the opposite. And that is true of almost all human behavior. I don't know why more people haven't caught on to this. Life is so much more convenient, less crowded, and more successful as an anti-conformist. For instance, I never go into a store after work or on the weekends. That's when everybody else is there. If I have to go into a grocery store or a mall, God forbid, I go in the late morning or the early afternoon during a weekday. It's empty and it's awesome, right? FYI, if you go into a Costco on a Saturday, you need to have your head examined. Never do that. It's self-inflicted masochism. I don't go into a gym in the morning or after 5:30. That's when everybody else is there. I try not to travel on Monday mornings or Friday evenings. If the fair comes to town, forget it. I avoid that part of town entirely. I don't vacation in places where it is in season there. You'll spend half your vacation waiting for car service, waiting in traffic, waiting to check in, fighting for a chair poolside, waiting for a table, waiting. Forget it. Instead, go off season and have access to all of that without other slovenly vacationers crowding you out, right? I mean, doesn't this just make sense? It seems so obvious to me. But I'll tell you what, in the end, it certainly doesn't make sense to be doing what everybody else is doing. I mean, that's for dang sure. I mean, look at the results everybody else is getting, for crying out loud. That ought to be enough to scare you out of conformity. So, what do most people do during the month of December? Now that we're talking about being an anti-conformist. Are people more focused? Are they more productive? Are they more distracted and more lackadaisical? Are people working hard or hardly working? You already know the answer. That's one reason why you want to do the opposite. This is when you can get ahead, way ahead, and take advantage of the mood of the season rather than the mood of the season taking advantage of you. I'll explain. Here's one strategy in particular that you can use to leverage your December so that you can crush it in January. I want to show you how to have a bigger January than you've ever had before. If not, bigger than any first quarter you've ever had in your life. Okay, so now when I was in real estate, the market dies in December. It's the holidays, right? Nobody wants to have their house on the market with people tromping through it. During the holidays, they're too busy buying Christmas gifts to think about buying a house. They don't even have the time or interest to even meet with a realtor in December. This kind of scenario might be true for you in your business too. So, what do? Here's the secret. Spend the entire month booking your appointment calendar for January. They don't want to meet with you now, but they are even more apt to book an appointment with you for January, which heck is all the way in next year. So I would crank the phones hard, just booking myself up for my entire calendar of January. By the time 8 a.m., January 2nd would come around, I was booked solid, wall to wall, flat out for the entire month. When my competition just started to rub the sleep out of their eyes and just begin to try and make appointments during the first weeks of January, they were so far behind they didn't even know what hit them by January 15th. No one could ever figure out how I did so much business in January each year. It had nothing to do with what I did in January. The game had been decided by what I did in December of the previous year. For you, that's right now. So the strategy is, while maybe no one wants what you're selling during the holiday lag time, use this month to book yourself silly in January. And then, bang, it's January 1 of the new year. Now let's talk about how to be sure that you can go into the new year in a full sprint as the calendar page flips over and January 1 is staring at everybody. And the strategies that will support your ability to hold that pace throughout all January and through the new year. The strategy is called prepave your runway. When the calendar flips and it's January 1 and you want to take off, if you have to wait until you lay the runway in front of yourself, you're going to get seriously left behind. You want to have your entire January launch plan laid out before you enter the new year. This means you want to chunk and block out the time allocated to all the important areas of your life. Here's one. You will have all the appointments that you booked back in December, of course. Then you want to block out the appropriate time for your other key functions. What are the 2 to 3 key functions of your role in your job or business? Figure out what those are and then allocate and block out times on your calendar to do those vital functions. Look, there's nothing more insane than walking into your office each day without a complete itinerary already laid out. Because that's what happens when people do. They wonder why they allow themselves to get caught up in all sorts of unnecessary firestorms, spending their day reacting to other people's agenda and solicitations on their time and attention. And then they go home and their spouse asks, "How was your day?" And you say, "I was really, really, really busy." But you didn't get any of your vital functions or anything to advance your agenda or goals done. If you hadn't been in the office all day, most all of those situations would have gotten worked out without you, and you would not have even gotten sucked into all sorts of meetings, got a minute drop-ins, calls, email exchanges. In reality, it is as if you didn't even work the whole day because you didn't do any actual work on your goals or your agenda. So you need to have a fully scheduled day before you start the day. As my mentor Jim Rohn would say, don't start the day until it's finished on paper. The other areas of priority need their allocated time blocks too. And this is another big mistake most people make. They let work demands, most of which are truly needless, consume their day, calendar, and wonder why they never have time to go to the gym, be with their family, have time with their friends, do their spiritual practice, or the other critical personal development that they need. So you need to have your workout schedule pre-booked and blocked. It is an appointment. Don't let anything interrupt it as you wouldn't if you had an appointment with an important client. Because there is no more important client than you and your health, energy, and vitality. The next block is to block out time that you will be spending with your family, friends, and the recreation that you need to keep yourself vitalized, right? If it doesn't get scheduled, it doesn't get done. Your friends, family, and lifestyle deserve a spot on your calendar. Book it and protect it with a vengeance. Don't let non-essentials get in the way of your essentials. I've always said, if you want to see what somebody truly values, not what they say they value, but truly values, look at their calendar. If they say they value their family, but work consumes their calendar, then they actually value work more than they do their family. Decide your true values, then give it appropriate representation on your calendar. And then, of course, is the time block for your mental improvement. And since this is so important and the one that I can help you with the most, I will spend some extra time giving you some tips to get a massive edge in this department going into 2014. But first, let me summarize what we've covered here. Prepave your runway. Your work, workout, social, family, mental, right? The mentoring I offer you here is to book these things on your schedule for your January, at least, if not your first 90 days. So let's just say January before January comes around. And then plan your other leadership and the rest of the time left with prospecting and important client events. So let's go back to the mental side of the game for just a second here, all right? So here's how this works. I'm sure your goals for 2014 are bigger than what your results were in 2013, right? Well, I certainly hope so. So if you're not growing forward, you are falling backwards. The only way you can achieve more than you ever have before is to become more than you've ever been. You have to grow into your goals, right? So this is the lesson that Brian Tracy taught me way back when, right? You want to take 10% of your income, tithe it off to help others. And then you want to take 10% of your income, tithe it off to invest in your personal growth and improvement. 10% of every dollar you make should go back to reinvesting in yourself so that you can expand yourself forward so that you can grow into your goals. So what is 10% of your 2014 income goal? This is the critical question. What will be 10% of your 2014 income goal? Invest that into you before 2014 starts. It's the only way you can grow into your goals. So let me break it down.